Hey, what's up, everyone? Previously on our Game News Live show.
Yeah,
let's go on to the next one. ESA trying to bring E3 back as a digital only event.
Yeah, I thought this was kind of interesting. So the Entertainment Software Association, the ESA, they're the group who owns E3, and it was canceled last year, of course. And then they had I don't know if you remember this, like Jeff Keighley did his whole like summer of games thing,
Right,
where it
right,
was
right.
just like these multiple events from all sorts of publishers and companies and everything. It was pretty successful. I watched a lot of it. It was pretty cool. Um, ESA wants to bring back E3 as a digital event, and sure, and I don't know about you guys here, I don't really think E3 is needed anymore. Like, I don't
think
with
E3 is needed as
yeah
what it once was. I think
yeah
E3 needs to just, like what they're saying here, it just needs to evolve into just a whole bunch of web events now.
yeah. So I mean, ever since, and this is, we're going back years here, ever since Nintendo started doing their like Nintendo Directs, and then Sony started doing their State of Play, and Microsoft is doing their like Xbox One. They had a thing in like London last year. I forgot what it was called, but it was like it was their big major event where they showed off like all sorts of new stuff. And it was like, with things like that happening, do we even need an E3 anymore? I don't know. Like, to me, I don't think so, because we're getting content from everyone individually now, that we don't need this umbrella of E3 anymore.
Well, yeah. I mean, Clay and I have gone to E3.
Yeah.
What, twice now?
Twice. Yeah.
Twice. And every single time you kind of go through some booth thinking this could have been an email, right? But
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you're just like,
they pay a lot of money for those booth spots, but I mean,
exactly. So you're talking about an industry, right? An industry.
Yeah.
Like Vegas is no different, and we're from Vegas, so we know the difference. We're talking about an industry that is just like has been living the old way of doing things, but you're also, if you're going to convert to this, it's also hurting an entire economy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, hey, I'm glad that E3 was as big as it was, because it put games on the map. But now with everything that's going on and whatnot, and not only that, but certain content is just not that big for gamers, that if we wanted to search for it, we'd search for it.
So I guess you could make the argument that E3 also helped publicize like the little man, or woman, or like the little garageware software developer, game designer guy, who's like making his game, and he has a booth at E3, and that's how they're planning on showing it off. But I don't even think that's a valid argument anymore, because if you look at like that person, that game developer had to go to LA and get a booth. They had to pay, for that booth,
right,
and pay to ship all their crap to E3, and pamphlets and demos and all that stuff for 3 days, and then then travel all the way back to wherever they came from. They could spend a fraction of that and just make a video,
right,
and then use social media to spread that to everybody.
But you're also talking about like, Remember when we went to E3, we saw a lot of indie developers that were just dying to show you their game, where I'm pretty sure back then it was a lot more, it was very difficult to get your game to be even noticed in like your indie channels, right? So you would have investors come in, walk through and say, hey, that looks interesting. Let's sign a deal for something and then get that going. I would see that as being the huge benefit to indie developers, or just developers looking to get a publisher or whatever. Yeah. But that wasn't us, right? We're just reporting on your stuff, which is probably a fraction of what they were trying to spend money on.
I can see that. Yeah, I don't know. I think ESA trying to push for E3 to come back as a digital event. If you know anything about ESA, they're like a big lobbying group who really fights for game publishers. They're probably losing a lot of money by not having E3. And so I think this push for them to bring back E3 is just so they can get paid.
Right.
And that's probably,
And then we're also talking about a generation who's still involved that holds the money, which is some of the older boomer generation that is just like, their relation, they're like Robert says right here on the chat, we still have to physically socialize at these events to build relationships, real person to person interaction. And there's a lot of people that even on like the younger side that still value that more so than they value, hey, we'll get on a Zoom call and get this going, or we'll just write each other an email. That makes sense. I just don't know if the value is still there for the majority of the people that are in that industry. It might be for other industries, but maybe video games, because we are on all digital landscape.
Yeah,
it's now time to move into that all digital landscape and make it the relationships the best way that we can using the digital platforms, I think. But
yeah, I get it, and I know, I just, if E3 comes back next year or this year, I'll say cool, I'll watch it, I'll pay attention, I'll be glued to all the streams and everything like that. But with the big three doing their own thing now, and Jeff Keighley's Summer of Games, and all the other events that are going to be happening, it's like I don't really see a place for it anymore.
Here's a good analogy. E3 digital video games, yes.
Yeah.
So it would make sense to do it over digital. AVN, a little bit different.
Go on.
You see where I'm going? Yes. If anybody knows what AVN is, please use private mode or incognito mode.
What are you talking about, Joe? What is that? Is that like American Video Game Nation? Is that what that is? I don't know what you mean, Joe. What is that?
Okay, next story.
Hey, you, join us live Saturdays at 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Also, join our Discord channel after Game News Live to chat with us. Check out our Nerd Junkies merch available now. And for all this and more, visit us at nerdjunkies.com. See you next time on Game News Live.